Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for Creatio's webinar. Today is a very special occasion because we are co-hosting this webinar with one of our valued partners, Tata Consultancy Services. During the webinar, we will be discussing why now is the time to invest in CRM and how low-code can help you drive return on investment. We're joined by two excellent speakers today, Erik Hale, Creatio's Global Head of Sales Enablement, and John Rothgeb, the Global Head of Pre-Sales and Strategy and Senior Solutions Architect at Tata Consultancy Services. My name is Creatio, and I look forward to joining these two as they share their insights with you. And we hope that this will be a very interactive discussion today. So we welcome you to post all of your questions in the chat section during the webinar, and we hope to get to these questions throughout the presentation. Now, we have established an agenda for today. First, we'll be giving an introduction of our speakers and the companies that will be presenting to you. Then we will be discussing the impact of COVID-19, the global pandemic on the economy and customer relationship management specifically. Next, we will talk about the business case for low-code CRM, return on investment and total cost of ownership. Then we will move into measuring the effectiveness and value of implementing a low-code CRM, followed by a discussion of Creatio's low-code platform and CRM overview. And then we will dive into our Q&A. And again, we invite you to make this an interactive discussion and hope that you can post your questions in the chat section during the conversation. So I now want to hand this off to John. John, please take it away.
Thanks, Corey. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. It sounds like I have my phone here. I need to turn off the audio. I wanted to make sure that I had a backup in case there was any disruption to my connectivity. So good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Depending on where you are, I'm John Rothgeb. I head up Global Pre-Sales and Strategy at TCS for our SPM and CRM practice. And I've been working in CRM and SPM, which is Sales Performance Management. It's also often considered part of CRM for over 15 years. Before that, I spent about 10 years working in embedded databases with CRM, ERP, HRIS, and medical ISVs, independent software vendors. We embedded the database in their apps. And over the years, I've also helped implement several Salesforce automation and CRM solutions. So lately, I've been doing a lot of strategic research and analysis on the profound business disruption we're seeing from this pandemic and the best ways forward. So a little bit about TCS, which is Tata Consultancy Services. There we go. Next slide. So TCS is a global systems integrator. It's a consulting and business solutions leader within Tata Group. We're over 50 years old. Tata Group's 150 years old. We've got 285 offices across 46 countries with 183 solution centers in 19 countries across the globe. We have over 1,000 enterprise customers of $1 billion or more, each one contributing more than $1 million of revenue to us. And we provide development solutions, IT managed services, and business continuity for a lot of these large companies. So we really have to stay on the leading edge of trends like low code and no code to remain current, relevant, and competitive. We're also constantly upgrading the skill sets of our associates, many of whom have both engineering or computer science degrees and masters. And we do that to allow them to keep abreast of these trends as well as to stay there ourselves. So Erik, over to you now.
Great, thanks, John. Appreciate it. Great introduction. I'm clicking too much here. Bear with me, guys. And I'm going the wrong way now. It would be wonderful if, let's see, here we go. There's that handsome picture. Look at that, guys. So as John mentioned, my name is Erik Hale. I've been with Creatio for a little over 2 years now. But have been in and around enterprise software sales for more years than I'd care to admit. So in my current role at Creatio, I work to align sales strategy across our organization. And really that's to ensure that we have consistent sales processes and outcomes I still work very hands-on with clients as well, just to help develop their CRM and business process strategies, and also to evangelize the benefits of low-code technologies. So a little bit about Creatio. Yeah, we are a global organization with 600 employees today. So a little less than TCS, right, John?
Just a bit, just a bit.
But yeah, we do have thousands of customers around the globe that have chosen our platform for low-code business process automation and CRM as their platform of choice. Both our company as well as our products have been highly recognized by key industry analysts, and we'll be talking about that recognition a little later in the presentation. But we've been named to 5 Gartner Magic Quadrants as well as 7 Forrester Waves. And really, our mission statement is that we want to help companies accelerate through their digital transformation cycles by providing a platform to automate business ideas faster and easier. So that's a little bit about Creatio. We'll be diving into a lot more on the platform momentarily. But before I hand it back over to you, John, it's not every day that we get representative like yourself on the line. So I know that TCS works with a lot of customers across multiple industries, as do we. And the one thing that I've been noticing in my conversations with customers is that the recent health crisis has really exposed many broken processes within organizations. Business needs, the business side of the house really needs to keep up with revenue generating activities, but IT teams are kind of taxed from a resource perspective, trying to keep everyone connected and the infrastructure up and running. How are your customers kind of prioritizing these projects right now?
Thanks for that. Yeah, it shows a lot of broken processes. Also, I think the basic thought here that I've come to is that we're going to wind up in a new normal. And so you're going to get process and culture change in sales. And so the choice is, do you manage that culture change and those process changes? And if you do, how? Or do you just let it happen to you? And our conclusion is that the companies that come out of this successfully will be planning and choosing the tools right now to manage that process. So, most of our customers are still looking at cost cutting. They're freezing, slowing down, and just stopping a lot of the initiatives they had going. And so that feeds right into the dynamics of the crisis. What we do is we come back to them and we basically say, listen, in SPM and CRM, we don't think you should get rid of people and slow these processes, because CRM and the other area that I work in, sales performance management, are very closely aligned with revenue. And while everybody's cost cutting right now, in looking at this, within a quarter or two as we begin to emerge, and we don't really know how long the total emergence is going to take, it'll probably be different for different industries, but that focus on cost cutting is going to switch to trying to recover the revenue and boost revenue and even competitive advantage. What are you seeing with your customers, Erik?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much the same, John. People are, almost like in a wait and see mode right now, just trying to figure out what their go forward strategy is going to be. But you have to have forward thinking organizations that got to prepare for the best and worst case scenarios. So I see that focus changing quite a bit right now. Went from let's wait and see what's going to happen to now we need to prepare for best and worst case scenarios. And I think that it's really enabled organizations to kind of take a look at how they're going to support a situation like this in the future. We're at COVID-19, eventually that's going to be cleared up. What about COVID-20, COVID-21? How are they preparing for these types of contingencies going forward? And business continuity is going to be of utmost importance. Business continuity can mean a couple of different things, right? It means, one, are you going to have the infrastructure to support that? But then secondly, also, how do we maintain revenue generation going forward? So it's really forced organizations to take a hard look at their current technologies, their current processes, and make those contingency plans going forward. So that's really the discussions that we're having, and really we're here to just help guide them on how technology can help them accomplish that.
Yeah, as are we. And we step in. We ask them. Typically, my first question is, do you have an SPM strategy, and do you have an SPM business case? And the same thing goes for CRM. SPM is the incentives, and that drives your sales. The CRM are the tools you use to do that, and that can accelerate your sales. So, dynamics of the crisis. I'll try and boil the ocean about 60 seconds here, and then we're going to dive into why low code is something really important to consider right now with everything else that's going on. So in the last 3 months, as Erik and I were kind of talking about here, well, looking at these sales trends for our quarterly ops reviews, I realized a few things. We realized a few things. All the trends that we'd been tracking were pretty much, over the last couple of years, were pretty much out the window. There were only a couple of things that we really knew right now. Most businesses have switched to some extent to survival mode and are focusing on cash flow. And we sat down and asked, what does that really mean for the future? And came up with a few things. So why came out in terms of the dynamics of the crisis, and I'll foreshadow it here and then we'll go into more, is those who plan and have agility and flexibility will be able to take advantage of any opportunities. If you have the right incentives, you have the right sales plans, you've adjusted your territories and quotas properly, you have the right tools, configure, price, quote, all of those sorts of things around your sales. And this goes for service too, and it will go for marketing as well. So there are going to be some opportunities for most organizations along the way as well. And so how are you going to position yourself to take advantage of these? And so a low-code CRM enables that type of agility and flexibility, allows you to manage the culture change and the process changes when it is most needed. And IT, quite frankly, another big dynamic, IT is going to be very focused on business continuity and on supporting work from home. So it's unlikely with a lot of your traditional CRMs that they're going to have a whole lot of time to do development on those. So your business side, your sales organization, service and marketing are going to be looking to additional ways that they can adapt the tools to support all the changes that are going on. So these two charts pretty much say it all. Growth is going to be 0 or less. Erik and I both said it. Revenue will be king. Once we come out of this cost cutting, oh, there it goes. Revenue will be king. The red line on the right side is going to be worse for emerging markets than for established markets. It's worse than the 2018 sell-off, crises in 2015, 2013, and even the Great Recession of 2008. So we're probably not going to have any growth this year, and a lot of companies will struggle to even have flat revenue. Depends on the industry, though. What does all this mean? There are really only two things. We've touched on them: cash flow or revenue and costs. And the other thing we're seeing is that everything's new and change is constant. So those are kind of the only two trends of consequence. The other thing that I've seen is industry companies, products, and services have been mostly reduced for the time being to two things: essential and non-essential. Once you see things not being so much essential and non-essential, you'll know you're merging into the new normal. And from a sales perspective, that really means for those essential products and services, sales is going to be taking orders. Non-essential products and services are going to be difficult to even give them away. So that's going to bring up a lot of questions. How many salespeople do you keep? How much do you go for e-commerce? Will e-commerce be able to take everything over? In most cases, it won't. It's king now, but it's not a complete replacement for a sales force. In that new normal, we don't really know whether it's going to be 1 or 2 quarters, or it could even be a year, 2 or 3. Depends on the industry, depends on the geography, depends on a lot of things. You know, when we've got a vaccine, you still got to manufacture and distribute it and get it to everybody. So that takes time and effort. The other thing, there'll be surprises and setbacks along the way, but I think it comes back to those who plan for this new normal will definitely come out best. It's going to reward agility and flexibility, and even though there are setbacks, it's likely to present some opportunities as well. So let's see if I can get the slides going here. There we go. That actually worked. So because of the constant change, all this uncertainty and inability to even see medium or long-term trends, the main focus is going to be revenue, revenue, revenue. We're going to shift from cost cutting to revenue, or at least some organizations will. You're trying to preserve cash now. That's the current focus, but you got to be careful with that because deep cuts could be counterproductive. You know, if you lay off your entire sales force, then maybe we get a real boom in your industry and you have to onboard people. Well, not only is that expensive, but it's time consuming. So you could miss that boom to some extent. So again, plan for the future. And as Erik stated so well, expect the worst, plan for that, but also plan for the best. So you got to look at both those contingencies and hope you wind up somewhere in the middle that you can really do the best. One thing we can say with certainty is that it really makes sense to try and save as many customer relationships as possible. And that's kind of where CRM comes in. Acquiring customers is expensive. Sales will necessarily make adjustments to staff levels, base pay, incentives, incentive plans, territories, quotas, pipelines, but sales and service are still necessary, as is some marketing. And the cost of retaining most of, or the best of those, should be offset by the costs of having to reacquire customers again or having to go find new ones. So you got to look at, you know, what am I spending on keeping my sales and service people and my marketing people if you're thinking of laying them off. And again, I would say try and furlough them as much as possible so you can bring them back if that works. Versus what are those future costs? If all of those people leave and you have to scale again, what is that going to mean? So, you know, all of these points, sales have slowed, service requests have skyrocketed, all those sorts of things, with potential loss of high skilled sales. And again, you know, if you can find those developers, the citizen developers, the SPM experts, those key hires that have been laid off somewhere else, you may want to plan and bring those on now so you're ready in that quarter or two for a bit of a boom. You know, that may be a great strategy. So, okay, so making the case here. What are the areas? So in the middle of a crisis where we're cutting costs and watching cash flow, how can we make a case? So these 6 areas have really come up where there are tangible metrics to calculate the potential ROI or lower your total cost of ownership. And you can pull those together and make a compelling case for keeping some people, focusing them on the planning and getting ready to adopt low-code CRM or even jumping right in. And I'll go through each one in the next few slides. But I just wanted to point out, you know, this grow revenues, eliminate user IT. This is getting your salespeople focused on sales. Increase your data reliability. You're going to need those for machine learning and AI. You know, the sizzle that goes along with the steak of just, you know, executing in sales. Older systems, cutting costs by getting rid of those and their maintenance costs. Decreasing errors that alienate customers and cost time and money. And scaling your CRM so you have better sales velocity. I mean, have any of us ever heard a CEO, a COO, or CFO say, oh, it's too soon to boost revenue? All of these are tied to revenue. And so we get the grow revenue slide. So, when companies come out, again, I think I've said this a bunch of times here, when they come out of the keep the ship from sinking mode, revenue is going to be the focus, I believe, for several quarters until further trends reemerge. And some of those trends may be the 2018, 2019 trends. Some are going to be new. Both CRM and Salesforce automation that you get with Creatio's BPM platform increase your sales velocity and can measurably be tied to increases in revenues. So, here we go. So there are also a lot of intangibles with better sales tools like sales focus, efficiency, productivity, better customer experience, forecasting, improved sales engagement. In the end, it really all comes down to better quota attainment and achievement for salespeople. It also comes down to better service metrics. And for your salespeople, bringing in more revenue quarter over quarter is going to be the way you measure that. So, I mean, I had a little anecdote a couple of years ago. I was visiting a large customer with a bunch of people from other practices. One of our large CRM practices told me they were brought in at another customer to analyze a CRM implementation by another sales system integrator. And it turned out to close the sale, each rep had to enter data on 17 different screens. They did the analysis, came in and proposed building one consolidated screen with all the proper fields, no extraneous unneeded fields, which would confuse people and slow them down. That decreased the time needed to complete a sale by roughly 20%. So salespeople could actually spend 25% more time focused on sales and customer-focused activities. 40% more reps began using the CRM extensively. And that, again, back to quota, correlated to higher quota attainment and even better CSATs. Interestingly enough, it lowered their sales turnover. The salespeople were happier. So I actually had a friend of mine in my practice tell me, I was explaining to him about sales performance management. He said, oh, it's like marriage. He said, it's like happy wife, happy life. I said, yep, you got it. But basically, all of that, the turnover and everything saved a ton because B2B sales execs are expensive to recruit, hire, and onboard. So you really need to kind of take all these sorts of things into consideration. So hopefully that covers the grow revenue. Eliminate user IT. We also call that user IT shadow accounting or shadow IT. And basically, it simply means the end user is trying to develop usable tools when IT or your citizen developer should be doing it, but isn't effective because of backlog or resource constraint. So citizen developers are simply non-programmer business staff who can develop with a low-code or no-code solution and actually change apps with that platform based on requests from the actual users. The low-code, no-code capability and the ability to put citizen developers to work eliminates the need for users to try and develop those effective tools. And it really takes your sales, service, and marketing people back to their core competency. They're generally not developers. They're doing sales, service, or marketing. And you want them focused on that for as much of their time because that's where they're the most productive. It's also usually where they're the happiest. So, who is a citizen developer? It says here, non-professional programmer, or not a professional programmer, a professional who's not a programmer, who uses a low-code or a no-code technology to develop applications. And this technology has been around for, 20, 25 years. I worked on a lot of the similar platforms in client server, 15, 20 years ago. It just took it a while to get to the cloud because you had to move apps to the cloud and then you had to move your development environments into the cloud. And this shows the difference between a citizen developer and a pro developer. A citizen developer is typically an admin or an analyst who works on the business side. They're not a full-time developer, even if they're a power user, but they're very knowledgeable and they usually know a lot about data as well as the UI and the business processes. Their preferred code, they like to drag and drop pieces and not have to write complex code and then look and see how it looks visually. They do a lot of visual development. And they'll typically focus on individual or work group apps or larger work group apps, or on making changes to the enterprise app, so change management. Over on the IT side, typically, a more pro developer, your business-led developer may not have been trained as a developer. They typically do spend full time on it. They prefer a low code or a pro code approach, maybe a combination of both. And they're typically focused on departmental applications and also some change management at the enterprise. And then you have your enterprise IT developer, which are hard to find. We've all heard about 20,000 vacancies there. So having citizen developers and low code or no code is a solution to that. And it decouples your reliance on IT and programmers to manage the change that you need for your business processes and your applications. So hopefully that is clear. So what really drives this user IT is tools like CRM that make customer-facing jobs more difficult. And I think all of us have used a CRM that either was developed solely for the back office or didn't keep up with the times and just didn't make your app any easier. User IT is the other side of the coin from no CRM adoption that we see across many industries. If the tool doesn't work for sales, service, or marketing, people usually fall back on their reliable manual methods. But some enterprising people will try and bring in an open source app or some third-party apps and connect it, or even develop their own. And that, again, is not their core competency. So it really complicates things. They can employ risky apps. They'll share sensitive data with people they shouldn't be sharing it with. And if you can get rid of that user IT and focus people on their core competencies, what does that do? It impacts revenue. It brings revenue up. It changes your from CapEx to OpEx by moving to the cloud, and it also lowers your total cost of ownership. So it's definitely a big benefit to eliminate this focus of business users trying in unofficial ways to solve their tool and application problems. So in addition, one of the others was cutting costs by eliminating these legacy systems. So you still have a lot of organizations that haven't gotten around fully to moving to the cloud, or they still have data in legacy systems that they haven't been able to retire. These are good ways today to speed up that move to the cloud, cut some costs, and also lower your total cost of ownership. So you can actually even sometimes go from on-premise or even mainframes to bring in a next-gen low-code CRM system like Creatio. You bring it in an area like marketing and later expand it to sales and service. And that then puts you in a position to eliminate those expensive legacy systems that are killing you on maintenance costs and hardware upgrades and that sort of thing. Low-code cloud CRM supports those one-time cuts, but it also lowers your total cost of ownership year over year by moving your accounting expenses from CapEx to OpEx, lowering development costs, decoupling your change management from dependence and reliance on IT and programmers that may not be able to be hired. And it leverages a lot of cloud economies of scale in hardware, admin, maintenance, and updates so that you don't have to hassle with those. How many people have had to deal with a system that is, down for hours or days because you've got to do a maintenance upgrade? Well, typically that doesn't happen very much in the cloud because that's all handled in the background. In some cases, those costs can amount to millions, especially the one-time costs, but even the ongoing costs are savings of millions. And the cloud delivers built-in benefits like mobility, 24/7 access, global access, and built-in scalability. So it's often right now is a really great time to repurpose staff rather than letting them leave or laying them off or even furloughing them, and having them do an assessment of what current operating costs for CRM and other systems are rather than furloughing them. Okay, so next one is decreasing your admin costs. And, with traditional CRM or ERP, there are often a lot of manual tasks that have never been automated because of the cost of automating or just resource constraints. Those are often costly, but also error prone and can even lose customers for you. And so one of the examples I use, and I've worked quite a bit in, is configuring, pricing, and quoting complex products. And with a low-code CRM, you can really build that out and solve a lot of those problems where you couldn't solve them before. So here we have all the different potential processes across various business units that are able to be addressed with Creatio's BPM and the low-code, no-code, especially anywhere where you've got customer data. I mentioned CPQ. We just did a little training for a large CPQ installation with a global enterprise company that does industrial controls and implementation, or instrumentation, I should say. And you know, they've got a team of 75 people that help configure the bids, price them, and build the quote. And it can take days or weeks to do those. With a low-code solution, doing the configure, pricing, and the quote, you can actually turn these around in minutes, if not hours, by using rules, by using drag and drop, by using all the automation. And obviously, it really impacts your ability to close a deal if you can send the customer the quote while you're still on the phone with them, rather than having to wait, you know, hours, days, or weeks. So that can really, again, boost revenue and solve errors where you don't make errors in configuration and you have returns and RMAs and that sort of thing. So very, very powerful solution. All sorts of things can be addressed here. Onboarding customers, loan qualifications, originations, knowledge management. It's the basis for machine learning and AI as well. So I could go on, but won't. I think we have a pretty good case study here. So the challenge at OTP Bank, as I've mentioned, they, like many other organizations, had a lot of manual process. Their data was siloed. It limited their ability to scale their business performance because people weren't working together. OTP Bank is a Central and Eastern Europe banking company. They have 12 million customers, 1,500 branches. And so their outcome, they use Creatio to increase flexibility and enable a platform to build those business processes that met their various needs. One thing I'll note here in the solution side, you see centralized back office activities, and yet they're talking about building customer-facing processes. One thing I will say is over my career, I've seen a lot of CRM installations driven solely out of the back office and not really focused on customer-facing and user. And that is definitely a danger. That is why CRM applications have a tendency to get outdated and then lose adoption. But OTP, they configured the loan management process and did a ton of work across this, as well as automating the account opening, integration with their content management. We've got a shot here of the processes. They just dragged and dropped their processes in and then extended them so that they were in a much more advanced state. So it was they built a multi-stage process for account opening for a physical person. And with that one process flow, they had a range of process steps. They automated and streamlined the industry-specific workflows. And they started with a customer consultation. They tracked all the customer data, interconnected with a specific account profile. All of this with low code and no code. After that, the account opening request was created. The form was filled in directly in the system with all that data they'd collected. And then they had customized sub-processes handling risk, calculating that based on the input data. And then they handled the account opening by integrating with the bank's core system and synchronizing with Creatio. A pretty sophisticated process and really improved things for their whole overall customer experience. So we've talked a little about data. I've dropped machine learning and AI. And anytime you increase adoption and speed the process with more accurate data, people put good data in. That is very much correlated, those adoption rates, with better data. And good tools are also correlated with CRM adoption rates. So Obviously, good tools make a job easier, or are again correlated with those higher adoption rates and better data. If your top sales performers and service people are using it, then your early adopters will be selling more. Everybody else is looking around and hearing things, and everybody else will quickly buy in or get left behind. I've worked with sales a lot over the years, and a salesperson, they're depending for their core income. They're liable to use a paper notebook or a spreadsheet unless and until their tools actually help them sell more and make more money. And it really comes down to that. Can you make more money? Can you do your job more easily? With a low code or a no code, the ease of change and efficient change management that it brings to that also delivers on this promise of good tools and tools that keep up with the process change and the needs of the customers. So that goes on the service side. Data reliability is key. You've got garbage in, garbage out. And I know a lot of us, I get annoyed when I'm asked on a service call 2 or 3 different times as I'm transferred from person to person who, first person can't help me, second person can't help me. They ask for my name, my number, and the details of that on each transfer. That's really bad service. Support teams can only deliver high quality service if equipped with the best data and see a 360-degree view. So one of my early jobs, we had a support solution that used a different field for every line of a large notes field. Basically, you could cut and paste all your notes in, but had to go line by line to paste it out and put it in an email or doc. And nobody put good notes in as a result. So I've seen it firsthand. And it's really as simple as that. It comes down to psychology and making their jobs easier, and sit down next to those service people or the sales guy on a call and just watch them go through the job. How easy is the app to manage that? And this is what a citizen developer can do that your coder is probably not going to do. So scaling CRM faster, when we talk about scaling, we're just talking about increasing the velocity and efficiency of sales with automation and good tools. Out-of-the-box CRM needs lots of manual coding. Configuration can be limited. They're just, it's first generation. It was a great tool in CRM, but now we've got CRM combined with BPM, visual interfaces, visual development, drag and drop. Don't need to have a programmer to do most of your changes and even build new apps. Fast and simple. Test it, change it, and it's truly an agile process that can be handled over on the business side. Okay. I think I've spoken to change management too. Adjust to those challenges. Now is a perfect time for that flexibility, agility, and change management. The out-of-the-box CRM has long IT development cycles even when they implement Agile. What they really need is a tool that supports Agile and agility, true agility, not just the Agile method. More IT experts. On the low-code CRM side, you've got business process experts. The apps should serve the business process and flexibility and speed. So I think at this point, that covers all 6, and Corey might have a poll now.
Excellent. So thank you so much, John. That was really, really a great overview, and followed by some very interesting customer cases. So we appreciate it so much. Now we want to make this again an interactive discussion, so we're going to open up for our first poll. And our question that we'd like to ask you guys is, where do you see the most value potential from implementing low-code CRM? So we're going to give you just a moment to answer this question here. And while we do this poll, we're going to, we want to also just have our speakers answer a question for us. So Erik and John, how about we take one of the questions here? And that question is, how can BPM help small to medium-sized building companies that have low IT competence have a plethora of various extensive programs they know very little of?
Well, I would go ahead, Erik.
No, go ahead, John. After you.
Well, I would say it helps them in pretty much the same way it helps large enterprise companies, because the reason for the constraints are different, but the kind of constraints on business from having updated apps that are all nicely integrated, that work well together and actually serve the users. I've seen that across small and large industries. So it means they don't need to try and hire those expert IT resources, and they can handle it within the business. Erik?
Yeah, I would agree with that, John. I mean, from low code capability, that enables people at the business analyst level, to configure tools, to be able to develop processes and applications. But beyond that, it's also a way to kind of flatten out your technology, right? So, I think it was mentioned in the question that they have many programs that, have to be kind of integrated together. They can be very expensive. Having a single platform and tool to develop on will actually flatten out that technology stack as well, and lead to a more cost-effective solution across organizations.
Yeah, that's a great point. If they've got a landscape that's complex like that, it allows them to simplify things, and with simplification, you get a lot of efficiencies. I would say that small businesses are better positioned to do that in many cases, because a lot of times their IT and their business people know each other in the same building, whereas in a large organ, and they may be used to walking down the hall to discuss something. Whereas in a big company, they may be in completely different offices and have never met face to face. So communications can be more difficult in a large organization. Those departments can be much more siloed too sometimes.
Great, thank you so much, guys. That was really great response on our question here, and let's take a look at the results. So it looks like the crowd has favored increasing CRM adoption, and we definitely certainly agree there. While these other aspects are definitely value drivers as well. So thank you for posting your opinion in the live poll. Let's move on.
Perfect. Thanks, Corinne.
So Erik, after going over those areas, how would you go about measuring and setting up that business case on ROI and TCO?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to be talking a little bit about, if I can get my clicker to work here. There we go. So John, thank you very much. I think that you've done a tremendous job of, highlighting the specific benefits of low-code CRM and the effect that they can have on organizations. But, to your point, anytime that we're looking at a new technology, a technology that's going to change the way that you're doing business, we have to kind of cost justify that implementation of a system like that. So I think that we all can recognize the traditional benefits of CRM, creating customer profiles that will enable you to increase your marketing effectiveness, which will then in turn generate more leads, taking those leads and advancing them through a best-in-class sales process, and then even on the backside, post-sales, being able to generate better engagements, with your customers in support of their service requests, will ultimately lead to more revenue if done properly. So I think that we all, can justify, those types of benefits. But what I'm hoping to kind of focus on right now are specific benefits that low code could also bring to the table, into your ROI and total cost of ownership analysis. So one thing that we want to take a look at are staffing costs, right? So the graphic from Glassdoor that you see on the screen right now displays the average salaries for development resources here in the US. So you can see you got C# developers, .NET developers, Java developers. The average salary is roughly $79,000 a year. In contrast to that, if you look at line of business citizen developers, those are your business analysts, your operation analysts, those folks that really understand your business processes. They can have the ability to develop on low code at a lower salary than traditional developers. So if you look at these figures, it's 19% lower cost on average to have line of business citizen developers versus traditional business app developers. And again, we list out some popular languages there, but we all know that there are multiple proprietary languages that are out there as well. So to kind of put that into perspective, this is an example that we did recently for a very large professional services organization. So a very smaller division within this professional services organization that was developing multiple applications and bringing them to their lines of business. So they had roughly 43 projects that they worked on every year. Every project was about 80K in spend for them. So if we took this staffing cost reduction of 19% and attach that to that, you're looking at a total savings per project of 15K. Now you expand that out times the 43 projects that they're working on, and you're looking at north of 700K in savings annually just in staffing costs alone. Right, so that's a kind of a basic math that will enable you to kind of add this additional value into your total cost of ownership and ROI discussions. On top of that, we also want to talk about productivity gains, right? So John, in your presentation, you mentioned that IT departments really cannot keep up with the demands from the business side today, right? There are more projects in the to-do column versus the in-process column or done column, right? And this is because there are long development processes. So if you take a look at backlog prioritization, development, testing, acceptance, all the way down to production, these processes can take a very long time. So IT departments, especially now in the time of COVID-19, are really, really being taxed. So we have a couple of figures on the screen here from an analyst at Forrester that said 71% of organizations that leverage low-code citizen development platforms sped up their application delivery by 50%. So, because we're able to develop quicker utilizing low-code technology, we're able to utilize additional resources outside of your traditional IT departments. You see that productivity gain, and kind of building out those numbers. You can look at it from that perspective, right? So traditionally there's 2,080 hours working hours per year. I know that developers and most of us are working a lot more than that, but if we're working with the law of averages here, you're looking at little north of 2,000 hours per year. There are studies that say that low-code application development can add, 4 hours of productivity to any person's day. So if you did that math, you're looking at, a productivity gain of 208 hours per year. So then you can start to expound that by saying, okay, the average annual salary, 64,000, take that down to an hourly wage. Times your number of users, you can start to see, productivity gains and what that can actually bring to an organization. But also, you get to think about it from a time to value perspective as well. Business are making these requests of IT projects. They're going into backlog. There is a business need that stands behind each one of these projects. So how do we get them out and into production faster? To bring more value to the business, and low code is a great way to kind of make that happen, because you can see, you get more done with low code than you can with traditional development methods.
Absolutely, we see a lot of that all over the place.
Bear with me.
No sweat.
Corey, could you help me advance the slides? It looks like I'm unable to click into the presentation right now. So if you could go to the next one, that'd be phenomenal.
The next slide.
Yeah.
Great.
Nothing is changing on my end. Now we're going way too far. Hold on.
Now
Let
we're going
me,
a little too far here. Let me just
yeah,
take it
let me
back
go.
here.
The clicker's not cooperating right now. Nobody pay attention to what you're seeing. I don't want to give anything away. So so I think this is where we left off. So the next benefit that I just wanted to talk about really quickly is build one time versus buying multiple point solutions to address your business needs. So John, you talked about this a little bit as well. There are many benefits to this strategy. Citizen developers can develop different processes and applications utilizing a single technology. And again, keeping your technology stack the same. You're not trying to have this application proliferation within your organization. You're trying to tie all these things together. You're managing them, not to mention, having the procurement process to go out and purchase all of these as well. But, it also helps to reduce costs and bottlenecks due to, various systems that aren't integrated. But let's put it in its simplest form. So this is another study that we did for that same, customer. Right now, they were looking at purchasing a configure price quote solution for their sales team. They had 100 sales users. If we looked at the solution that they were moving forward with, it's $40 per user per month, or $48,000 annually. The ability to build configure price quote solution utilizing low-code technology in Studio Creatio, as you can see, is considerably less, right? They have 10 developers working. A single user license is $25 per user per month, list cost, or $3,000 annually. So you can see that just on this single application, you're looking at a total annual savings of 45K. So, this is just kind of a way that we look to, add some additional value to our customers beyond, the traditional ROI studies of, revenue, efficiency, being able to retain your customers. This is just a different way to showcase how low code can actually increase your bottom line as well.
Absolutely, Eric. And one of the things that I like to stress is, if you've identified those, however many areas, 3, 4, 5, 6 areas where you can get ROI or improve TCO, what we like to do with our clients is sit down and figure out which metrics we're going to track so we can go after that potential ROI and TCO. And then we put in a process of continuous performance improvement to try and achieve that. Because if you're not measuring it, it's really hard to manage. And so that business case informs what we do going forward. With the whole COVID thing, we've gone back to our customers and said, hey, do you have a business case? We'd like to update it. Let's see what we can figure out. Or if you don't have a business case, I think we ought to build one for you now.
Yeah, great point, John. Great. And, you're also, looking at that from that perspective, right? It has to be measurable. It has to be attainable. You have to recognize hard costs, soft costs, everything that you're taking into consideration, when you're building cost justification is important. So
right.
Couldn't agree more. So real quick, I know we're coming to the end of our presentation here. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Creatio. So, what we consider our differentiators in the marketplace, or as we like to call it here at Creatio, our superpowers. We have multiple superheroes. But our three main differentiators are, first and foremost, our business process management engine. That is going to help you align your processes across your organization much faster because you're going to have the tools to maintain that and unify everything under a single platform. Secondly, our low-code platform, or our low-code capabilities to maintain the change management process, right? Also to enable you to create bespoke applications utilizing low-code application development. So, anything constant in business is change, and the ability to adapt to that very quickly is ultimately important. And then the third differentiator is our unified CRM. And when we say unified CRM, we didn't grow by acquisition. Creatio built our platform from the ground up. So it is a single technology, a single platform, a single customer database, as well as a single user interface across sales, marketing, and service. So it is truly a unified CRM product. And just to give you a little highlight of the product itself, you can see at the foundation of our platform is our studio Creatio, and that is that low-code application development business process management engine that enables people that don't necessarily have developer or coding skills, but if you have a good understanding of your business processes and your business, you'll be able to create those custom processes, applications, and workflows directly in our studio product. On top of that, we built full-fledged comprehensive applications for sales, marketing, and service automation. And that fourth box that you're seeing there is our Creatio Marketplace. On our Creatio Marketplace, we have over 500 applications, connectors, and templates that can extend the core functionality of Creatio into other aspects of your business or third-party applications. So again, I mentioned that our mission is to help our customers accelerate through their business transformation cycles, and we look at that in 4 stages. One, we have out-of-the-box capabilities to help you get implemented and up and running faster, recognizing a quicker time to value. Through our low-code development platform, we can create workspaces for your users based on how they work, right? It's highly configurable, so it makes it that user adoption will be exactly where you need it, because you're designing the system exactly how your users work. Next would be alignment, and through our business process management engine, this is where we can create that flow of your processes from organization to organization, making sure that all of your processes, your applications, and your people are aligned across your organization. And then finally, again, that low-code capability to adapt change very agilely, utilizing drag and drop if and then conditions. So again, you can see the process designer there in the screen. It's a what you see is what you get type of designer, and you can create these custom processes and flows very easily. So that's all I'll say about the product itself. I think I'm turning it over to Corey at this point to talk a little bit about our recognition.
Yes. So, excellent job, both Erik and John. Thank you so much. And particularly thank you to Erik, because you opened up for me to just highlight some of Creatio's capabilities, and so I can move into our recognition. But before doing so, just want to highlight our mission. We at Creatio believe that we've created a world where any business idea can be automated within minutes. We've achieved some very impressive recognition from our analyst community, and we continue to grow on this recognition and build our relationships with analysts to show our value of our offering. We are recognized in 7 Forrester waves, the former 2 speaking to our low-code and process automation capabilities, and the latter 5 speaking to our Salesforce automation and CRM capabilities. This is, again, some very impressive recognition that we've accomplished with Forrester, and we continue to grow our recognition here. Additionally, we are recognized in 5 Gartner Magic Quadrants, the former 2 speaking to our low-code application capabilities, and the former 3 speaking to our SFA and CRM capabilities. It's definitely important to note that we are actually a leader in the Salesforce automation and CRM lead management Magic Quadrant. Again, this is stellar recognition, and we're very excited about it. We continue to get very positive feedback from our analysts and our user community. And that finalizes our presentation today. So thank you so much to everyone for joining. Again, we're going to follow up with the recording shortly after, but we want to just finish up here with some Q&A. So John and Erik, our first question that I want to ask quickly is actually from Prasant in the audience. I understand that low-code is a one-time activity for CRM. Once the process is implemented, it will not require frequent modifications once stabilized. Is this correct?
I would say it doesn't require it, but it certainly can benefit from it depending on how your business changes or how you want to adapt your sales processes and support them with the CRM. So, if you've got an agile type process that supports continuous performance improvement, you can
Oh, I think we lost John there.
Might have lost John. I can give my quick 2 cents, guys, because I know we're coming up on the hour. But yeah, so I guess it would all depend, right? As I had mentioned before, the only constant in business is change. I haven't come across an organization yet that doesn't experience some sort of change. So the low-code development, it can remain as constant as you want it, but in my experience, process flows are going to change based on your business needs, and that's really where low-code comes into play and really shines as well, because one, you can automate processes, you can have that constant, but as soon as that change in your business comes, the ability to modify that process and adapt to it very quickly is going to be of utmost importance. And that's really where business process management, utilizing low-code technology is going to be extremely beneficial.
Great. Erik, thank you so much. That was a great description there. I particularly like your assessment of how companies need to be combative rather than reactive. I think that definitely pertains to low code, staying at the forefront of technology. So one last question, since I know we're running out of time here. In light of the upcoming economic crisis, many of the customers, the C in CRM, from business landscapes will disappear. Is it possible to utilize low-code approach to help them maintain the R part?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question, right? So, and I love the way they put that with the C and the R. So it's true, right? We're going to be minus customers, and that's the reality that a lot of us are having to work with. With CRM, you are able to, in my opinion, help these customers, or at least to try to keep these customers with you by understanding them. And that's really what the purpose of a CRM is in my mind, right? You're building this profile to understand your customers, your needs and wants, their preferences, how they want to do business with you, what's happening in their business. So having this profile and being able to utilize a CRM to recognize, what's important to this customer will enable organizations to make make suggestions based on these profiles that you're building. That could be, in this current situation where, hey, you've got a customer that has to lay off people, maybe it's, freezing their licenses for a few months. So that way, they're not, having these licenses expire later on, but, being able to understand their business needs and being able to understand, your customers is really what can help drive, retention, in my opinion. You have to understand your customers.
Yeah, studies have shown that reacquiring customers that used to be your customer is extremely expensive. Requiring new customers can be extremely expensive. And so your best bet is to retain them. And so reaching out, even when they're not buying, keeping that data, reaching out, staying in touch. When we get back to the new normal, maybe they open a new restaurant if it's a restaurant customer. Maybe they get a new job and then they become a customer again. So you're definitely going to want to retain that high touch.
Great point, John. Yep.
Great. And I think that sums up our time today. Thank you so much to all of our attendees for participating, for joining our call, and for listening to our discussion, making this interactive by posting your questions. Again, I just want to note that we are going to follow up with all of our registered attendees with the recording of our presentation today. Big thank you to Erik, Hale, and John Rothgeb. This was just an excellent presentation, incredibly detailed, and some great insight here. So thank you so much again. And we hope to see you on many more of our Creatio interactive discussions.
Thanks,
excellent.
Corey.
Thank you, Corey. Yeah, thank you, John. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe.
And good luck through this crisis, everybody. If you have additional questions or thoughts, please reach out. We would love to interact with you and help you figure out how to, weather the crisis, as one of our questioners put it.